Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to watch this video. I hope it encourages you to coach a FIRST team, and I hope it helps you understand why FIRST can be such a valuable use of your very limited time. FIRST was founded in 1996. They've collected data for the past 10 years, and one of the major findings of this is that kids are twice as likely to major in science or engineering. 41% of the kids who participate major in engineering, and there's a 33% of engineering major from females, which is much higher than is true in our society at large. 98% of the students report more productive problem-solving skills. 75% move into a STEM-related field. One of the things as we think about adults mentoring children is so valuable is to help them find paths to get them to become independent when they're older. One of the great things about FIRST is that if kids find that they really like engineering, there are loads of opportunities for them in engineering. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, engineering type fields have faster than normal job growth and excellent pay for a bachelor's degree. This data is borne out by the reports from two local colleges. Olin College is an engineering school where 43% of the incoming class do robotics in high school. They have nearly 100% job placement, and they have a starting salary of $75,000 a year. Norwich College reports nearly identical statistics for electrical engineering students. So now that we've seen that getting kids involved in engineering can be valuable and help them become independent adults, one of the questions is, how does FIRST go about doing that? So I'd like to talk a little bit more about FIRST in general. FIRST was founded in 1996. The teams of students, and Dean came and took the idea of teams maybe from Little League Baseball or from sports, where kids have much more fun when they're doing things together. And this is one of the things that makes it very different than a science fair or other types of enrichment activities. As part of a team, the students are empowered with leadership training, management training, research skills, design skills, fabrication skills, testing, presenting in order to solve their problems. There are developmentally responsive teams at 4 different levels. At the K-2 level, students are just getting involved in robotics. It gets a little more advanced in 3rd through 8th grade. There's a 7th through 12th grade team and a 9th through 12th grade team. And you can see from around 7th grade to 12th grade, there are lots of options for kids based on how much experience they have with robotics. Millions of kids have participated, and there have been teams in 80+ countries. As I alluded to earlier, there are really a handful of strands that a coach would be working with kids on with participation at FIRST. Leadership, management, design, fabrication, programming, researching, prototyping and testing, and then finally presenting out their work. The leadership strand really focuses on helping the kids learn to set short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. The kids then develop plans to help achieve those goals. They learn how to do collaborative decision-making, and they learn how to do dispute resolution. These are really valuable skills. One of the great things about FIRST is because it runs through their entire academic career, there isn't a lot of pressure to get stuff done all at once. They learn from their mistakes, and they have multiple opportunities to make improvements. Kids develop all kinds of management skills working within FIRST. Their leadership skills help them write a plan, but their management skills help them implement their plan, revise their plan. They learn to operate within a budget and on a timeline. They learn to document their work, report their work, and present their work. And often I've found that certain teams have kids that might be really strong leaders but not as good at management, but likewise some kids are great managers but not necessarily great leaders. By grouping kids together in ways that complement themselves, they can have really productive teams and learn to appreciate that their differences are a strength. The design strand is very exciting. They start when they're very young just talking about ideas and drawing pictures. They can then use the Lego Digital Designer or SketchUp to display their ideas. It doesn't take long for them to move into PTC Creo to assemble models with constraints, to learn how to make sub-assemblies into larger models, to use computer simulations of their models, and then finally to write files that can 3D print or machine their designs. One of the things that the kids love and they're very excited about is that the very same skills they use in PTC Creo, they can use in Blender to make games and animations. And this three-dimensional reasoning is hard to address without this type of work. Fabrication is a valuable art form that many of the kids don't have opportunities to outside of FIRST. They start learning to fabricate by building with Legos, and then they advance into aluminum kits. And then, with any luck, they'll learn to safely use hand tools like a miter saw, hand saw, plastic cutters, plastic welding. They'll move into power tools, learning to use drill presses, electric miter saws, table saws, band saws. They'll learn to solder circuits and use shrink wrap. Eventually, hopefully, they'll move into being able to braze materials like aluminum, and then finally welding materials. From a programming perspective, they'll start with the WeDo 2.0 software and then move into Scratch. Then from Scratch into Mindstorms, from Mindstorms to the App Inventor, and then from the App Inventor into Android Studio. These software packages mostly came out of MIT and were designed with a very similar look and feel, inspired by some of the early work in Logo by Seymour Papert. Kids take to this very quickly, and they learn to really be able to do all kinds of programming that you never taught them, because one of the most valuable things that comes from the programming piece is they learn from other kids' examples, so they can go online and find something that teaches them how to do what they want to do, and then they can just go ahead and do it. So you don't need to know all of these skills in order to support a team that's using them. Research is a huge part of what the kids do with their projects, and incrementally over time the research gets more sophisticated. For younger kids, one of the things that's great for them to do is just ask experts questions, watch movies, listen to podcasts. As they get older and they're ready to read more independently, they can read age-appropriate and reading level appropriate books about their topics. As they get older, it doesn't take long for them to develop these habits of saying, hey, there's something I want to know about. I know how to know about it, and I'm going to do it. They find themselves working into peer-reviewed research as they get older, because if they stick with the program long enough, each year their project gets a little more sophisticated, a little more interesting. They get to a point where they get really ready to publish original work. Part of this progression over time was learning to prototype their builds. These are often related to their robots, but could also be their project. In this photo, you can see that there are 5 different 3D prints of a designed lid to a box that one team built to capture bees. They learn to be resilient. Failure is an inevitable part of success, and they learn to not make the same mistake twice in order to move toward richer, fuller projects. As they progress through the program, they present to increasingly more sophisticated groups. So they'll start presenting within their classroom, their community. As they get older, they might start presenting at a community forum. This photo shows a boy presenting at a maker fair. Eventually they get to a point where they're ready to make an elevator pitch and a Kickstarter video to move forward their ideas to get funding. So, the teams. Junior FLL is the K-2 level team. It's capped at 6. It's non-competitive. The kids build a project that is related to a theme with FLL. This team costs the least of all the teams, and it requires the least amount of time. It's a great experience for kids, makes them hungry to do more. FLL is in some ways the heart of the program from my perspective, because it takes kids into Lego robotics and there's a world for them to discover. The season is 12 weeks, generally starts in September and ends in November. The teams are capped at 10. They use an EV3 robot and they program with Mindstorms. There are 4 events at the FLL level. They have a robot game, which is where their robot solves an obstacle course. They have a robot design, where they explain to judges why they made the design choices they made. And this is a fantastic opportunity to integrate in physics, concepts like friction and momentum and force and potential energy and mechanical advantage. And then they participate in the core values. And for the language arts and social studies and drama folks, the core values is a great opportunity for the kids to express creativity and to solve problems together. It's like an improvisational task from Odyssey of the Mind. They might be asked to build something together, or they might be asked to tell a story together. Global Innovations Award is a $20,000 grant to one of the teams for one of their projects. So every year, one regional winner is nominated for Global Innovations Award. Globally, all of the regional winners get selected to form 20 that are invited to the U.S. Patent and Trade Office to present out their ideas to venture capital funders. This program is superb. Kids grow loads in it, and they become resilient for the next level. FTC teams are capped at 15, and it's what many high schools do. It's a 24-week season, which gives busy kids plenty of time to fit it into their schedule. The robots are significantly bigger, pushing 50 pounds. They use an Android phone, aluminum kits generally, but they can custom design parts using their design skills so that they can be 3D printed or machined. And they program in Java, so they're taking this into a professional programming language. In FTC, there are 3 main events. They have the robot game, which is very different than FLL, which was an obstacle course. In the robot game, they're paired with another team. They're trying to score points. In some ways, it might feel like a basketball game. They're generally shooting balls or catching balls or doing something along those lines, paired with another team, and their total scores compared to 2 other teams' score. And over the course of a day, at one point, their partner might be their competitor. And it really pushes the kids to focus on this notion of we're not competing against one another, we're trying to build ourselves up together collaboratively. They present out the robot design, and at this level, there's a very deep expectation that they will present a mathematical analysis and a physics analysis of their robot and why they think it works the way it does. Many of the teams bring calculus into this, and it's very exciting to see how much the kids understand about robotics. And their engineering notebook is where they document each step of the way, so it should be loaded with photos and pictures and hand-drawn illustrations. You name it, it's how the kids show that they made this robot. At this level, there are scholarships for many of the students, and many of the students go on to major in a STEM-related field, as we alluded to earlier. This is much more expensive than the other programs, but not nearly as expensive as what's considered the varsity team. FRC is the varsity level of FIRST. It's a 16-week season exactly. It starts in January. The teams build a 200-pound industrial robot. They program in Java. And the reason that there are so few FRC teams is partly rooted in the cost. It's about $10,000 per season per team, which makes it prohibitive for a lot of schools to run a program like this. So I hope you learned a little bit about FIRST, why it's important in terms of training kids to be excited and interested and rewarding and fields that will compensate them well throughout their lives and where they won't struggle so much to find work. And where they'll make friends that hopefully they will grow up together and learn that, hey, solving problems not only makes the world a better place, but can help me take care of myself. Thanks so much for watching.